Breaking down the instant contributors in the 2024 and 2025 class for Arizona football.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. The show is brought to you by FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel. All kinds of really good stuff going on at FanDuel, as you know. All right, now we are going to talk Arizona football instant impact recruits who we're looking for in the 24 and 2025 class to be guys that can really break out and make a big difference for Arizona right out the gate. Okay, so let's start then on the offensive side of the football. Now, a quarterback, obviously, you know that Noah Fifita is the man. Noah Fifita is going to be there and doing what he is doing for a long time. But at that running back position, though, you got a couple new dudes that are going to be able to make an instant impact, and I would be stunned if they did it. The first one, obviously, is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. We've talked about the story. We've talked about, everything that goes on with him, and he's going to be a stud. I expect him to be the opening game starter, and I think that he's going to probably push 1,000 yards. And if he doesn't push 1,000 yards, I think he's going to be right there somewhere in that vicinity. The way that he can rush, the way that he can run, and you watch him, he's kind of got that next level explosion. He's just a really, really good football player, obviously, and Arizona is very, very lucky to have him. I think something too that is enticing about him is you're like, all right, what can that next level be for him then? Because he really kind of showed it last year at New Mexico, and I think there's another level that he can reach, and I think we're going to see that. So Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt obviously merits a mention, and honestly, if he was in the NFL in a couple years, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. I think that he is that. I think that he is that kind of player, and I think that he can be that guy. Now, looking at the other player that obviously is that dude, I think you're looking at a Quali Conley. Quali Conley is absolutely fantastic. We like Quali Conley a great deal. Again, rushed for almost 1,000 yards last year at San Jose State, rushed for about 8 yards a pop, and was just really, really good. And then so you see him and you know that you're like, okay, well, I can see that being the case where, he could be an NFL player. And I don't know that he has the upside that Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt does, but I also don't know that it's that far off either. I think he's very much in the discussion. It's going to be fun to watch and just see how he can really kind of, translate that to the U of A level. But both those dudes are monsters. I think that Arizona did a very, very nice job of replenishing that talent to that running back in that running back room. Jedd Fisch tried to get Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. We said, no, Jedd Fisch. And that was obviously a very, very good thing for the University of Arizona. Now, the next thing we're going to have to see is where, how exactly Pham and Kedrick Risano fit in here. But so far, so good. And I think that's something that we definitely need to focus on. But either way, that running back room is going to be very, very good. Very, very good. So with that, I think it's also fair to say that you need to look at the running back room then and say that it's pretty much good to go. Now, let's look at another position, wide receiver. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Raymelo Murphy is an instant impact player. You've obviously got a loaded receiving room. You've got T-Mac, you got Montana Lamonius Craig, you got Malachi Riley. Raymelo Murphy kind of in that slot position. I could see having a very nice season. He is he's a player that, can do, a little bit of everything. At Old Dominion, he was very good. And not only was he very good at Old Dominion, you also could see that he kind of had a next level type feel to him where it was, you just kind of knew that there's a real potential there for him to, come in and be an instant impact contributor. He's got the sign off from Les Fifita, which is obviously a really good thing. And now watching Arizona, you know that you needed another wide receiver with Kevin Green Jr. moving on. This is going to be that guy. Excited to see exactly what he can do because, again, I think that there is every indication that he can be an instant impact guy for the U of A. Sometimes guys fall under the radar a little bit, and you got to remember, people are like, well, you put up those numbers at Old Dominion. Yeah, but he was also a freshman. He was showing up there, and you still got to put up the numbers. I'm intrigued to see what he can do because I think he's going to surprise some people. And you probably need another one of those kind of, those like little quick twitch hitter types at that running or at that wide receiver spot. He's that dude. I'm excited to see what he can do. Now at the offensive line, I think now that's where it becomes also interesting because you've got now an offensive line unit where you return 4 or 5 starters. And so, between Josh Baker, I think Leif Magnuson's going to flank one of those, Jonas Sabanea, obviously. Then you've got, the one guy that you end up missing, though, and obviously Wendell Moy. The one that you end up missing though, is where is the deal with the what is the deal with the who's that going to be that other tackle? And with the other tackle, I think that you're hoping that it can be Raymond Polito, and not are you only hoping that it can be Raymond Polito. You hope that he can be that guy because, again, he's got real talent. He's got NFL type talent, and he needs to be able to stay healthy. And if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be in a very good spot for Arizona. But that remains to be seen. He hasn't shown so far that he can stay healthy, and I think that's something that you got to see if you're the U of A. You certainly want to see that. But if that doesn't work, then, again, you got a Jonah Rodriguez coming in from San Diego State. This was a pretty highly rated kid coming out. Didn't play last year, but somebody that this coaching staff likes a great deal. You can slide him in hopefully at that tackle position, and he can be a contributor. I think that's at least what you're hoping for, and I think Arizona would love to be able to see that. And if not, Michael Wooten's another one that has kind of stepped in, and he didn't play at Oregon, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything to me because at Oregon, that's obviously a loaded, that's kind of a different level of football there. And so if he didn't play there, I don't dismiss him as not being good enough, but again, I need to see it. But either way, that one tackle position is the very, very good. And that if you can get that to be very good, along with Jonas Sabanea, then you're going to be in a very nice spot. But the offense, though, this coaching staff did a very, very nice job of being able to impact the offense and show that, just essentially show that they have an ability to be able to fill up holes quickly. And they did just that with the offense. Like I said, when we've said it a billion times, there's no reason, in my opinion, that this offense shouldn't be absolutely fantastic. If it's not fantastic, then I got some questions immediately about the coaching staff. Everything is there for this everything is there for this unit to be really, really good. And I think that's going to be the case. We will find out, though. But like I said, this is a loaded offensive unit that should be very, very good. Now, on the other side, we're going to talk about the defense because there's a lot of guys on the defense that are new that we're going to talk about. Could they be instant impact contributors? Where exactly do they fit in the grand scheme of things? But first, FanDuel, check it out. There is all kinds of really, really good stuff going on at FanDuel. The great thing about FanDuel is very, very simple. At FanDuel.com/lockedon, your money's good. You can bet on you can bet on the U of A. You can bet on a variety of different entities, and you know that your money is good. And you can bet beforehand. You can bet after. If you're looking forward to the future, you can bet in game, and when you cash out, it's good. Like I said, baseball bores me senseless, but you know what makes it a little bit more interesting for me? If I got a little skin in the game, a little bit of scratch, that's what makes it more interesting. So again, check it out. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Another one of these ones where you will thank me later. because there's all kinds of good stuff and your money is good. So again, check it out, FanDuel.com/locked on. You will thank me later. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, let's talk a little bit about the defensive side of the football and some of these instant impact contributors, who they could be, all of that. Now, I think the first one that you got to look at and you got to say, all right, that's an interesting one, is Trey Smith. Trey Smith came over from San Jose State, where he was an all Mountain West performer. You look at his stats, you look at his numbers, and it's easy to see that this guy is really good. You got, 70 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, or 6.5 sacks, bunch of tackles for loss. He is, you're going to put him in at that defensive line or that defensive end position, and I don't think that you're going to really see much of a drop-off. Now, listen, he might not be as good as Taylor Upshaw, but I have every reason to believe that he can be as good as Isaiah Ward or Deuce Davis, and that's no slight towards Isaiah Ward or Deuce Davis, very much like Deuce Davis, as all of you know. But I think the one with Trey Smith, though, that's where it becomes fascinating, because Trey Smith is, I think he's somebody that probably has some realistic NFL hopes. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, a very, very good player. It was a very nice pickup for the U of A, especially with the way that, the defensive end position was decimated. Arizona needed to get some players in there that could make some plays and make them immediately. Trey Smith's that dude. Now, on the D-line, the coaching staff, I think, has done a very, very nice job of being able to, fill out this defensive line in a very quick manner. And again, I think that you wish that you had more players off the edge. We'll see how that all plays out. But you still got some dudes that can obviously really play. You've got you got a Kevon Darton, who at that defensive tackle position, it was an all-conference type dude at Syracuse. He got 4 or 5 sacks. He was rated as one of the best pressure players in the entire conference, and it's still in a major conference. It's not like that it's not like you're doing that in, say, whatever conference, I don't say the Mountain West. It doesn't help my case. It's not like you're doing that in the Horizon League, and I don't even know if they have football in the Horizon League, but you did in the ACC. He is, again, he's a little bit undersized, about 6 foot, 270, 5'11", 270. But, with Dwayne Akina, you want to be able to get uphill. You want to, and you want him, I think you want to be able to make an impactful, impactful impact for him. And I think Kevon Darton's going to be that dude when he hits, when fall camp starts. I look for him to make a real impact. I look for him to make an impact very, very early. Like I said, he's really good. He's really, really good. And I think that that is something that is going to be very enticing to be able to watch with this team, is just how that defensive line kind of comes to play. Now, the new one that we need to talk about as well is Chuba May. Chuba is massive. Now, my guy BBN, I very much miss Big Bill Norton. I like Big Bill Norton a great deal. Wish him very well at the University of Texas. We're looking for that new culture fit, and I think that can be Chuba. With Chuba, again, a monster of a man. It's 6'4", 360 pounds. He is huge. You will not see many people as big as him. And I think that you're hoping that he can be that guy that kind of was like BBN, where you can hold the line of attack, where you can not only hold the line of attack, but you can push upfield a little bit. We'll see how that all plays out. But like I said, he's a very impressive football player. And when you watch somebody like him, you know that there's some next level potential to him. I don't know that he's going to play in the NFL, but I also don't know that he's not going to play in the NFL, because he has all the hallmarks of a defensive tackle that can be that proverbial 2-gap player. It's going to be exciting to see, because I think there's going to be a little bit of a thunder and lightning aspect with him and Kevon Darton next to him, where one is the guy that gets upfield and one's kind of the one that holds the point of attack. Dwayne Aquina has talked about it from day one that he wants to be a little bit more aggressive with the defense this year. He wants to be able to get upfield. He wants to, not necessarily just hold spots, but he wants to be able to push the ball upfield or, get that defensive line and do that. And I think there's every reason to believe that he can do that. So we will find that out. But with him, with May and with Kevon Darton, they did a very nice job of filling in those defensive tackle positions. Now there's a couple other guys too that I think are going to provide some really, really nice depth in all of this. And that's, you've obviously already got those two, but then you got Bear Anderson, a freshman out of Memphis who was really, really good last year. True freshman on some true freshman All-American teams. He won't start this year, but I think he'll push for a starting spot next year. And if you can push for that starting spot next year, then I think that you're in a very, very nice shape. He's going to give you some really, really good depth. And that's kind of what you need. Again, with the on the defensive line, I love the depth at the defensive tackle positions. It's about continuing to get, I think, a little bit stronger at the on the defensive ends. And if you get a little bit stronger at the defensive ends, then I think that that you can probably make that next step. Both those guys, though, very, very good. Now, then. Off the edges, I think that you're maybe hoping that, maybe a guy from Utah, a guy from Stanford can be that, can really kind of emerge. Now, the reason that I'm not super optimistic is some of those dudes have been in college for a couple years and they haven't done anything. But Utah, kind of like Oregon, is a little bit of a different animal in that you just know that they have different caliber, they have a different caliber of player. They put dudes in the NFL year after year. So just because a guy isn't good enough to necessarily play at at the University of Utah, doesn't mean that he's might not be good enough to play at the at the U of A. So we'll find that out. I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but I also think that there is some there is some potential there. So we will see how that plays out. Now, at the linebacker spot, that is something that I still think needs to be addressed. And listen, love Jacob Manu. Jacob Manu is an All-American, in my opinion. Jacob Manu is absolutely fantastic. But I think getting to that next level is, you're going to have to get another linebacker in there. Like I said, I'd love to be wrong on Justin Flo. I just don't think that I am, but I would gladly be wrong on Justin Flo. But Arizona, I think, is going to have to continue to look to add people in the portal for that. If you can add people in the portal, then, we can revisit it. But so far, I just don't think that the linebackers that U of A has outside of Jacob Manu are good enough. And that is something that I think does need to be addressed. So can't really talk about any linebackers there because there haven't really been any ones that I see lining up next to Flo and being that guy. I think you're going to see a lot of safeties in the mix. And one of those safeties that you're going to see in the mix is Owen Goss. Get him out of Colgate. I think that now you have four really good safeties, and it allows Genesis Smith to probably play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. And if you get a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, then you can also have you can probably have a little bit more success with, but that's, I think, what you're having to do. The safeties is an absolutely loaded unit for the U of A. It's about as loaded a unit as I can remember as seeing here at the U of A. And honestly, I mean, you got three dudes that can play in Genesis Smith, Gunnar Maldonado, and Dalton Johnson. Multiple of those guys have another year left if they want. And so all those dudes obviously can play. It'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But I think bringing in Goss allows you to have a little bit more flexibility with what you do with Genesis Smith. Now, at obviously at that corner spot, you're going to have to add some other people because you love Traden Stukes, obviously, but you got Traden Stukes, you got Tacario Davis, you bring in Freeney from Miami. Again, no real film, didn't really play a ton, so it's hard to sit here and say that is going to be the case. We will find that out though, but I'm not exactly sure on that one. So, like I said, we will find that one out. But overall, the staff has done a very nice job. We're going to talk about that a little bit more on the other side, and a quick Tounde Yesufu update. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, let's talk a little bit about what they need to do next. Obviously, we talked about, I think the offense is pretty much set and good to go. You need to get a couple more ends. You need to get a couple more linebackers, and I think you need to get another corner. And at that point, I think that you feel pretty comfortable about where you are with things. But overall, the coach has done a good job filling those holes. I think that's the next step, though, is being able to get there. And the coaching staff, I think, has certainly shown that they have the capacity to be able to do that. So we will continue to keep you updated. But overall, so far, so good. All right, now a Tounde Yesufu update, and then we'll talk a little bit more recruiting in the coming weeks. But with Tounde, now it's a national recruitment. So again, do not hold your breath when these things happen, because this is a different day and age with the NIL. So when you start, mentioning schools like Ole Miss that you never mentioned before, you're probably looking to get paid. Now, a big thing about it, too, is that Tounde wants to bring his family out for all the official visits. Wouldn't surprise me at all if, in this NIL world, if, he's looking for both of his family members to get jobs out here. And again, I don't begrudge the young man for doing that. So Arizona is going to continue to recruit him, but this is going to be this isn't something where Arizona is probably in the great shape that it was just a couple weeks ago, because he can now go anywhere and this might be a highest bidder situation, and whoever the highest bidder is, especially if you're dealing with an SEC school, that it might be where he ends up. So Arizona is not out of it, but Arizona also knows that this is going to be Arizona doesn't really get into bidding wars. Didn't do it with Will Riley. It's not going to do it with Tounde. They have a nice package that they put together, but that does not mean that, they are going to go above and beyond for a player that might be here a year or two. So again, we will keep you up to date on how that all unfolds. But with Tounde, like I said, I think it's going to be might be a highest bidder situation. And I get people all the time that are like, well, that's not a diss. I have no problem with it. If a kid wants to go to the highest bidder and you can start making, generational money already, I got no problem with it. So that's kind of where it is. Now with Arizona, I think a big thing with all of this is, where does Braden Burries fall in all this? Because to me, that's the player. It's Burries or bust, I think, when it comes to domestic recruiting, because you might be able to get Jaden Bradley back for another year, but, he could go off to the NBA. He could do a lot of different things. With Tounde, with Braden Burries, that you've been on him the longest. You need a point guard, and he is kind of that NBA guy that, you could have him for a year and then he goes off to the league. But you need to be able to get somebody like a Braden Burries, and you need to be able to get him in here and be part of that Wildcat family. Like I said, I think with Tommy Lloyd, he's shown that he's mastered the transfer portal. With domestic recruiting, it's been kind of, not bad, not great, solid. He's gotten some highly rated guys like Carter Bryant, to Kylan Boswell. Also, obviously, KJ Lewis wasn't highly rated, but he's a stud. But you got to step up, I think, the domestic high school recruiting to a certain degree. And Braden Burries is that guy. Braden Burries is going to be that test case as to where you are in the grand scheme of things. So we will definitely keep you up to date on that and where everything does fall. Now, we're going to talk about some of the NFL prospects on this football team next show. And we're going to talk about some of the U of A prospects for basketball as well, and who we could possibly seeing their name called in the 2025 and the, even the 2026 draft, because there's a lot of different players on this roster that you could see making that move. But again, we're going to be coming at you all day, or every single day this week. So, buckle up. But as always, very much appreciate you tuning in here, talking about the U of A football instant impact contributors, who those next guys could be, and we will be back with you tomorrow. But as always, bear down, back the A, and thanks for listening and making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day.